Well, it's Cricket World Cup time again. Once again, over 1 billion people cheering for MS Dhoni and his boys, but this time they're cheering for him to successfully defend the World Cup title. But can India really do it this time around? What are the hurdles that the team needs to overcome to win the cup back-to-back times? Now, to answer those questions and much more, we've got with us two gentlemen who need very little introduction, really. One of the stalwarts of Indian cricket, the man, remember, who was the man of the match in the 1983 final versus West Indies, Mr. Mohinder Amarnath joins us, and also joining us, one of the finest cricketers that South Africa has ever produced, and also the man who coached India to the 2011 World Cup title, Gary Kirsten. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on NDTV. Great to have you both together in one frame, that too. First up, the one match that everyone really is talking about is India versus Pakistan, the tournament opener for both the teams. There was a time when this match was tagged as the mother of all cricket battles. Jimmy sir, do you think that this match can still be called the mother of all battles?
Yeah, definitely. I think the kind of emotions start riding on this game, and people all over the world, I think they come and watch. I've heard stories that they, I think, hire a theater in New York and thousands of them come and watch this game. And I think all over the world, wherever they are, the satellite channels available. I think yes, definitely you can call it what you said about this game as such. And I think what I really like about that every individual in, I think, both sides of the border get involved, yes. You know, which is I think is a good thing. I think I'm also pleased that in a way that we are playing Pakistan after a long break, so that interest will be there, and I think we'll have viewership, you know, like very huge viewership in this particular game.
Right, Gary, of course, Pakistan's never beaten India when it comes to World Cup encounters. 5 matches, India's triumphed all 5 times. This time, however, who would you say go in as the favourite for this clash?
Oh, I think it's a difficult one. You know, Pakistan always arrive at World Cups sort of unpredictable. You never quite know kind of who's going to be the star players, and a couple of new names always arrive here, and then you know, and I think India, I think have been misfiring a little bit, but I don't know if I would write off an Indian team for this World Cup, and I think this first game for them is obviously going to be a lot of hype. I mean, it's one of the great sporting rivalries, and India are going to be keen to get some confidence going and just to get some momentum in their play so that they can take it throughout the event. And Pakistan, I think, are just going to kind of hope that they can be unpredictable and no one's not sure of them and maybe back off a little bit. Yeah, but they've got some key players. I mean, you know, Misbah's one of the better finishers around in the game, so you can never write Pakistan off.
Right, Jimmy sir, would you agree with what Gary is saying, that maybe India go in as the favourites, but the fact that Pakistan's never beaten India, that thing will be at the back of the Pakistanis' minds as well, and that might just have that psychological effect?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they'll be thinking about that because I know them very well. I think, being a Punjabi, I think you understand the psyche much better. And I think they play with passion. I think they play for that day, honestly, and sometimes they don't plan too many things. They just want to go and give their best. And as very rightly Gary said, they have some match winners, and if they come good, they definitely, that can hurt India. Yeah. But there's not much of a difference between the team, but probably little balance, I would say this, with the Indians are probably a better batting lineup compared to Pakistan, because they play spin very well, and the Pakistanis have better pace attack compared to India. So I think it will be very interesting to see how well both sides adjust themselves.
Right, Gary, since you're here, I have to ask you this. The last time that India played Pakistan in a World Cup match was, of course, the 2011 semi-final, which India won. What was the atmosphere like in the dressing room ahead of that clash? Because when it comes to India-Pakistan, the common refrain across the country is, it doesn't matter even if you don't win the World Cup, this is one match that you have to win.
The atmosphere was electric, there's no doubt. I mean, it was... yeah, within the dressing room, I think the players are pretty good. They try and keep it as another game of cricket and go out. I know there's a bit of added hype around it, there's no doubt. So, but the players are good. I mean, they know what they need to do. They're all professional athletes. They know they've got to do good things on a field to win a game. Yeah. You know, they can't just play kind of all emotion, and, you know, sometimes that can trip you up. And I think the players, in my opinion, the modern players adapted well to that. So a lot of I guess the talk before the game will be just, what do we need to do to get it right, to kind of to cross the line in this game.
And what was the celebrations like after the
Yeah, that gets pretty pumped. I mean, I must say. But the guys were heading to the final. You know? So it was beating Pakistan and getting to the final of the World Cup. So
who shouted the loudest in the dressing room?
I think almost normally Harbhajan Singh leads the way.
All right, Jimmy sir, now going into this particular World Cup, one thing that's been talked about a lot is the inexperience of the Indian entire team. The likes of Sehwag, Yuvraj, Harbhajan, Gambhir, they are all missing Zahid, they're all missing this time. How much of a factor will that inexperience thing be, especially in a clash against the arch rivals?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's difficult to replace those players, and especially a guy like Tendulkar. I think probably, because you won't see such a player again, and there's a possibility of that. And so I think, okay, fine, end of the day, it's a new team, but I think they will be as charged up as these older players when they met them in 2011. So there's not going to be much of a difference over there as far as commitment is concerned, the passion is concerned. I think definitely, I think the only thing probably may just go against Indian bowlers, that I think when Pakistani start attacking them, because they're a little bit inexperienced, like Yadav, okay, he's played, but he's not been very consistent with his line and length. Bhuvneshwar is still new to this world cricket as such. So probably that may add on a little bit pressure on these guys. But I think end of the day, I'm sure they'll all must be charged up that they're representing India. And I think when India play against Pakistan, you don't want to lose.
Absolutely. Now, picking up from where you left off, that's what my next question is going to be. Last time India played Pakistan in the World Cup in the semi-final, Sachin scored 85. All the 5 bowlers that Dhoni used took 2 wickets each. This time around, who do you think can be that key factor, that main guy, that match winner perhaps? Would you say perhaps someone like a Virat or a Rohit, or maybe someone can come ahead and surprise?
I think the conditions are different here, because in 2011 we were playing in India and it's on slow turning tracks, and I think probably we had an option. We had a lot of spinners in that time. Yuvraj could bowl, and probably even Raina could bowl, and 2 spinners were playing already. I think about 30 odd overs were bowled by spinners. So that's not going to be the case over here. But why not? Maybe Virat probably can do a little bit bowling, and if you never know actually in a situation like this, if somebody is bowling a few good overs, you continue, or maybe you ask him to bowl more, and that helps the team, because I don't think it's the wickets really going to assist spinners that much over here. So the pace bowlers have to do the main job over here.
Right, now talking about pace bowling, Gary, there are certain reports doing the rounds that even though Adelaide, of course, is a batting-friendly pitch, and India's played quite a bit on this tour of Australia already, but that we might just expect a slightly greenish pitch for India-Pakistan. When there's a greenish pitch, a lot of people, 1.2 billion people, suddenly start feeling hot under the collar here. Now, would you say that once again, perhaps this match will boil down to the Indian batting versus the Pakistani bowling?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mohinder's spot on there, to be honest with you. I think that's where their strengths lie. I mean, every team in the World Cup are going to have areas that are really strong, and they're going to have areas that you can exploit. And it's for the opposition to understand what they are. But I think it's nice, it's quite clear with India, Pakistan, where the kind of strength lies. So it could well boil down to that. And I think as well, this tournament as well, when you've got two new balls on wickets that are offering something, you kind of have to shift your strategies a little bit and bat a little bit like a test match, and you might need to say, well, hold on, after 15 overs, or if we kind of 55 for 60, we haven't lost too many wickets, that's all right, because we can always make it up later. So it's going to be interesting to see how all the teams kind of play out their strategies throughout this tournament.
Jimmy sir, do you think this particular Pakistani team can perhaps be a bigger threat than any other Pakistani team in the past when it comes to playing India in the World Cup, purely going by the fact that there are a large number of unknown quantities in that squad of 15?
Yeah, I think if you see their style, I think I watched a little bit in a practice game, and I think probably their style is the same what I think they were doing 20 years ago. I think it hasn't changed. I think, as I said, that they go with the passion over there when they play against India. And I think probably they will play 2 seamers. I think they have already 2 seamers in the side, left armour. And what I have noticed over the period of time, the left arm seamers have always performed well against India. I think that's the key. And as you said, the green top wicket, it's not necessary if there's a grass, the ball is really going to do wonders over there. And probably I think it's all your mindset, like how will you adjust yourself, as Gary very rightly said, that I think the start, the planning has to be right, that someone has to stick around, the conditions are demanding, probably you hold your strokes, like you want to be there for a while, and then you have a strong batsman coming later, like Dhoni and Raina and others can really hit the ball well. So I think the planning has to be good, I think, when you play against Pakistan.
moving on from Pakistan to the other big match that we'll be playing, exactly the one right after Pakistan. In many ways, Gary, would you say that the match against South Africa will be a tougher challenge for India, not just on the field but even psychologically, just going by the fact that South Africa is already being tagged as one of the favourites to win the World Cup?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot will be riding on the first game, to be honest with you. If they win the first game, there's a bit of pressure off the next game, knowing that in the round-robin phases, you don't have to win every game. In fact, when I was with the Indian team in 2011, we lost to South Africa in Nagpur. So it will depend on what happens in the first game. Again, it'll be a tough challenge for them, but you know, South Africa have a lot of respect for India. I think they're two cricketing nations that kind of have a lot of respect for each other, and it's going to boil down in that game, not necessarily to the emotion of the game, but more to who plays the better cricket. And I think it's going to be exciting to watch in many ways, and I think there are in this World Cup, going to be a lot of really interesting games to watch.
Do you know that there were a number of Indian fans who had started putting these things up on social media, bring Gary back?
That's a dangerous one.
What's your response to that? Did you hear something like that?
I've got to be careful what I say. I'm actually joining the Proteas after in the next couple of days. So I'm still kind of linked to the team and wanting them to do very well in this tournament. They've got a great team. They've got some good players. I think AB de Villiers is kind of leading the way as the captain there, but you know, they're hyped to do well in this tournament, and so I kind of got my foot in that door a little bit.
But last couple of questions. Realistically, do you think that the team has the bowling? Of course, they have the batting, but do they have the bowling to play in these conditions and win the cup again?
No, I think no, they have the talent. It's not that they don't have, and but the only thing, they have to really settle down very quickly. And I believe, and this is my own opinion, that if Indians have to do well in the World Cup, that the bowlers will take them forward, not better.
Yes.
Because the Australian wickets, you know, there's always something for pace bowlers with the 2 new balls and 2 bouncer in over and all those things. So bowlers have to deliver, and only then probably we can go forward.
Last question for both of you. If you could pass on a message to MS Dhoni, someone you know very, very well, at this point in time, just before the World Cup begins, what would that be?
I don't think he needs any advice, to be honest with you. You know, for me, he's an X-factor cricketer, so he's going to be, once we get to those knockout stages, that's when he kind of moves into another bracket. So I'll be watching closely in that space. And as you rightly say, I mean, there'd be nothing better than a South Africa-India final.
Jimmy sir, your message? Pull out that helicopter shot maybe?
No, that's fine. I think those things can come handy when the top order starts performing. And so he's a great finisher, no 2 ways about it. And probably what he wants from his team to give him a start, and then he can take it from there.
All right, Jimmy sir, Gary, thank you both so much for taking out the time and talking to NDTV.